All right, everybody, welcome back. Good afternoon on this Victory Friday. We're going to look at more Pro Football Focus data. We're going to look at more Pro Football Focus stats. We're going to do the defense now, and the defense, I think, was the side of the ball that was pretty easily superior last night. I think that was the group that was really locked in. I think that was the group that was consistently producing good results. I know things got out of hand at the end there, but I'm going to say it again. I don't really think they played badly so much as the Cardinals just made some really ballin' plays. And sometimes you got to give credit where credit's due. Like Marvin Harrison Jr., great catch. Great catch by Michael Wilson on 4th down. That probably would have ended the game if he doesn't bring that in. It happens. All right, so don't always agree with PFF. Don't always disagree. Just looking at what they do because it's good work. Before we get into the numbers, let me tell you about Sleeper for 60 seconds here. Before I go any further, I want to tell you a little bit about my friends over at Sleeper. If you're not using the Sleeper app this year for daily fantasy football, you are missing out. Take a look on the left side of your screen. Look at all the great stuff you can pick on over there. Let's put together an entry for this weekend. Here is mine. I've got Bijan Robinson scoring an anytime touchdown. Atlanta's offense is due for a breakout after last week's tremendous disappointment, scoring 0 points. I got Micah Parsons getting at least half a sack against the Cowboys. How is he not going to get a sack in that game? It's a revenge game for him. I got Rome Odunze with at least 59 receiving yards. He's feeling it right now. He's going up against the Raiders. Think he's going to do well. And I got DK Metcalf after 2 relatively slow games, getting at least 51 yards. Pittsburgh's having trouble running the ball. Time for DK to bust a big play or two. Get on over to Sleeper, put together your entry. You can get a $100 match on your first deposit with promo code SBN. Terms and conditions apply. Back to the video. All right, welcome back. And it's definitely not what you would expect, I think, after watching that game last night in some areas. Let's just dive in and figure out what we can figure out. Ernest Jones leads the way by a good margin, which he got a sack. I think he played the run really well. He was a good tackler. I don't think there's anything surprising there. I think that's kind of what you would expect from this game. But Devin Witherspoon in second place. And pay attention to this one, guys, because 78.1, they don't give that out for free. And I know part of it is the pass rush grade being obscenely high, but that was only 2 plays. So what they are telling you, because remember this grade for later when we take a look at some other stuff with Witherspoon, what they are telling you is regardless of the result with Witherspoon last night, which was not always good, the process of his play and the way he went about his business was still very good. Keep that in mind going forward. Peely, only 8 snaps, but he was graded well for whatever that's worth. Nwosu, welcome back. I think the main reason why he didn't get a higher grade here was his coverage was atrocious for some reason, which, again, I don't really care about. He rushed the passer effectively. He tackled well. He played the run well. So Nwosu, best game he's played in a while. Over 2 years, probably. Boye Mafe graded well again. I know we can't get on the scoreboard with that sack yet, but it is coming. The sack is coming. Don't worry about it. 69.2, well graded. Tyrese Knight. They didn't like his run defense at all, so it's kind of weird that he still graded well, but he did. They liked his tackling. They liked his coverage. 69.1, I mean, that works, especially when you see his rotational buddy where he was. I don't know, it seems like there's a decision that needs to be made there on a more permanent basis. And I know some people were down on Tyrese Knight after last night. I didn't feel like he played bad. Maybe he did, but I didn't get the sense that he was bad. I'll look at it again, I guess, but I didn't get the sense that Tyrese Knight was bad. Leonard Williams, pretty good as well. I thought he was probably better than this personally, but 67.8, whatever. Jaron Reed, pretty good. Not a very impactful game, but 67.3 is okay. Derek Hall, again, okay. He continues to generate pressure, but he's just not getting that sack yet. Julian Love had a very interesting day. They really smacked him around for the run defense and the tackling. And they didn't even think he had a good pass rush grade despite generating 2 pressures. But he saved it with the coverage. He should have had a pick. He had a couple other good plays in coverage. Very interesting that you would see this much negative and then they still give him an above average grade. D'Anthony Bell, 6 snaps total, doesn't really matter. Byron Murphy, I don't think they're ever going to grade Byron Murphy overwhelmingly positively until he starts getting to play full-time at 3-Tech. So I'm looking at this, and I'm just like, yeah, the grading is not very good, barely above average. Murphy's clearly better than that. And I think it's just a matter of the fact that he is playing out of position, and I hope that gets put to an end at some point, personally. That needs to stop. DeMarcus Lawrence only played 10 snaps before he got hurt, so can't really derive anything from that. Okada played 1 snap, so nothing there. And then you get to the crew of guys that PFF was very down on. Woolen, not a surprise. That's what happens when you get penalized 3 times in a game and you kind of punk out on a tackle. Job, which I know is going to surprise some people maybe, but I did notice, I don't think he played very well last night. I'm not down on him, but I don't think he played well. The thing with a guy like Josh Job is that he is not the most talented guy in the world. He's going to have bad games, and it's cool. It's fine. It's understandable. We're not going to make a huge deal out of it, but I don't think that he played very well, and I think that is reflected reasonably well in the grading. I don't know if it was this bad, but he got beat up a little bit. Mike Morris, really bad grade. Only 9 snaps, though, so I'm not going to read too much into it, but they did not like his game at all. Drake Thomas, punished. 48.1 on a pretty good sample size of snaps. Now, I'm not saying PFF knows what they're talking about when it comes to linebackers. In my experience, they don't. I think they're pretty bad at judging linebackers, but I have been kind of advocating for Tyrese Knight to just get the send. And if this reflects reality even a tiny bit, then yeah, Drake Thomas just is not that good. And Kobe Bryant, sub 40, which is wild given the fact that he had an interception. But I guess it does kind of reflect the fact that process over results, they don't like his process, even though the results weren't really that bad. And that gets illustrated later in this video, by the way. But anyway, run defense. Let's start here. There's not much to look at because the Cardinals didn't run the ball that much. They had to give up on the run pretty quickly. Felt like they just kind of let it go at a certain point, and we're like, okay, we're going to have to win this game with a passing attack. I think they had less than 20 rushes last night, and some of them were scrambles by Kyler. So they're not even real rushes. Now you can see that Derek Hall, who, by the way, Derek Hall seems like he's playing the run a lot better this year, which is a big, big step up from where he was before. In years before, he was almost untenable against the run. And Uchenna Nwosu also playing the run very effectively. Multiple run stops. Also getting some stuff from Jones, Reed, Witherspoon, and Peely. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but again, the Cardinals did not run the ball enough for us to rack up big stop stats. So pretty good over here. Pass rush grades and pass rush data. Again, I think that's actually probably more interesting than the grade at times. Like, I don't know how to feel about this. Derek Hall is a 56.3 when he gets 3 pressures in a game. I struggle with that one. Stuff like that. Julian Love as a safety gets 2 pressures and he's gets a 52.4. I struggle with that one. I got to be honest. But anyway, the star of the show in terms of grading this week was Witherspoon. 2 pressures. They, I think, gave him half a sack officially. I know that PFF isn't giving him the half sack. They're giving it all to Joe. But regardless, however you want to slice it, very effective game for him rushing the passer, which is a very strong skill of his. And that was one of the reasons why I was really excited to get him back, among many other things. Job had the sack, of course, so good for him. Nwosu was the guy who ate this week. 5 pressures, including 2 sacks. And then you had Hall with 3, like I said. You had multiple pressures from Murphy, Big Cat, and Julian Love, of all people. And then you had a bunch of assorted pressures here and there from some other players. Mafe, Thomas, Ernest Jones. And by the way, Thomas and Jones both had sacks. Peely had a pressure. Morris had a pressure. D-Law had a pressure in very, very limited snaps. So I think 23 is the same number of pressures we had last week against the Saints. So there's definitely something good happening with this defense. Even if some of the pressure is a little bit soft, I think we did a very good job making Kyler uncomfortable last night in a legitimate and genuine way. And to his credit, he made some really great throws at the end of the game despite pressure, I think. So I think we're doing the right things. It just hasn't produced stellar results quite yet. We're not quite there yet. Okay, so that is pass rushing coverage. Very interesting stuff here. So here's the first thing that stands out to me, right? Devin Witherspoon, 8 targets, 8 catches, 79 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Okay? Statistically, you cannot be much worse than that. That is almost 10 yards a target. That is 2 touchdowns. That is not quite half, but about, 40% of the Cardinals' total passing game production in that game on Witherspoon's head. They still graded him well. And this is kind of what I was talking about. I don't think he played badly. I think the results were just bad. And I'm not saying that PFF always gets it right. I think they got it right here. 67.5, I think, is a reasonable reflection of his game. I don't think he played bad. I think the results were just bad. Sometimes things just don't go your way. So that is the first thing that stands out to me. The next thing that stands out to me would be kind of the opposite side of this. They gave Kobe Bryant a terrible coverage grade, 42.4, on 2 targets for 6 yards. And by the way, he also came up with the interception. I know it didn't end up giving us the ball, but it's still an interception, and he still made it. So you can see them valuing the process over the results. And I think that you look at this, and I don't know if I totally agree with it, but it does highlight how you can get beat up in coverage on paper, but still do your job and not really give up anything and not really be doing your job. Something to keep in mind when we evaluate this stuff going forward. It is at least possible for stuff like this to happen, and I think that's important to keep in mind. All right, so moving on from those 2 big things, we got good cover play from the linebackers according to PFF. Jones got targeted twice, 1 catch for 10 yards. Totally fine with that. Tyrese Knight got targeted 4 times for 10 yards. Totally cool with that. No issues there, even if it's 4 completions. 4 for 4 is fine in my book. And obviously, Jones has the pick. Love, 4 targets, 11 yards. That's more like it. That's what I want for my safety. There we go. Getting better. We already talked about Witherspoon. We have a bunch of players in the middle here who didn't get targeted. Drake Thomas, poorly graded, but only 3 targets for 11 yards. On paper, I don't object to that too strongly. I don't mind 3 targets for 11 yards. I'll say that much. Enrique Woolen has a very deceptive stat line here. It's 3 targets, 16 yards, 1 completion. But that's not an accurate summation of where we are with Woolen, unfortunately. He had 3 penalties, 2 of them in coverage. I know people have been trying to argue that the 4th quarter penalty on Woolen was a bad call. I don't know if I see it. Guys. I think that at the very least that's borderline, and I think it's understandable that they called it. I do. Maybe it's not the most clear-cut penalty in the world, but I do think it's probably a penalty. Nwosu, 1 target, 5 yards, gets graded very poorly. And here's an interesting one. Josh Jobe graded very poorly in coverage, even though it's only 11 targets for 52 yards. That's really not that bad. 11 targets for 52 yards from an outside corner. I'm okay with that. Again, I don't think he played that well overall, though, so I understand the poor grading. I think there were some issues. I mean, you've got a pretty decent chunk of those completions going for first downs, even if they're not for big plays. And you also had, like, the Marvin Harrison drop that turned into the pick for Jones. I do think that Jobe allowed a 3rd down and 11 conversion there, and he's just lucky Marvin Harrison dropped it. And since I didn't do it earlier, let's go back to the main page and look at missed tackle stuff. And yeah, this is where Julian Love and Josh Jobe really kind of got punished here. Multiple missed tackles, 3 for Julian Love. That can't be happening. And that's why his game was so weird. 2 missed tackles for Jobe, like I said. A bunch of other players had 1, but it actually really isn't that bad. Witherspoon missed 1. Morris missed 1. Woolen missed 1. Drake Thomas missed 1. It's not the end of the world there. Special teams, there's not much to report. Eric Saubert had a really good grade for special teams in this game. I'm not sure why, but they really liked him. That's one of the highest special teams grades I've ever seen. They gave some negative grades to guys like Hall, Russell, Morris. And that's it for this week, guys. That's it for the defense. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys later. More videos coming soon. Go Hawks. Let's keep it moving, people.